The second saying of Christ from the cross is surely magnificent. He promises paradise to a man who until that hour had lived wickedly. How could he do that? How could he say, look, I promise you today, you will be with me in paradise? Remember, there's no punctuation in the ancient Greek language used for the Bible. The thief didn't die that day. That's why his legs were broken. And on the third day, Christ could say to Mary, don't touch me, I've not yet ascended. So it should read, verily I say to you today, this day of sorrow and pain and testing, you will be with me in paradise. This thief had begun by reviling Christ, but as he watched his bearing and his attitude, the thief changed. When he heard Christ pray for his murderers, the thief longed to get the benefits of that prayer. He read the title above Christ's head, Jesus, King. That man's faith was the greatest faith in Palestine that day. He saw in the wounded, bruised, bleeding, condemned man beside him a man who would live again, who had a kingdom and who could give him eternal life. That's faith. From his high court, the priest reversed the charges of condemnation that had come from Annas, Caiaphas, the Sanhedrin, Herod, Pilate. The thief threw them all out. The only thing he could use on Christ's behalf was his tongue. Everything else was tied down. So he says to the other thief, don't you fear God? Don't you know you're under the same condemnation? But this man has done nothing amiss. So the thief uses his tongue to justify Christ. And then he exercises marvellous faith. He looks at the man beside him and comes to believe that that man has a kingdom. And so he prays to him. He prays to him as to one who owned heaven and earth, who could give away heaven. And how humbly he prays. He just says, Lord, remember me. Now that is indeed a humble prayer. Nobody could have invented this story. A robber, a thief, a bad man who'd been exposed to law all his life, but it did nothing for him. Remember, I've said before, to run and work the law commands, but gives me neither feet nor hands. Better news the gospel brings. It bids me fly, gives me wings. I hear the words of love, I gaze upon the blood. I see the mighty sacrifice, and I have peace with God. No one could have invented this story. It's like the Barabbas story. A man who was guilty was counted as innocent and let loose, while Christ, who was innocent, was counted as guilty and went to the cross. No one would have invented that. The Bible is true in what it says about human nature. All of us have problems, friends. All of us were born with drawbacks, idiosyncrasies. None of our habits have been just right. In some ways, we've all been like that thief, spent a life that did not glorify God. But when he found Christ, everything changed. His attitude changed. He sees Christ as innocent. He sees him as possessor of paradise. and he speaks truly, and he speaks humbly. Dear friend, does he not teach you as he teaches me? The way to paradise is by penitence and confession. Penitence is not something we do once. Penitence is our daily attitude and habit. And you can't practice penitence and live meanly, unkindly, brutally. The thief has much to teach us. God grant you may learn from him, as I too desire to learn from one to whom God promised paradise. God bless you.